I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional lands referred to as the Treaty 6 territory, the original lands of the Cree, the Dene, Dakota, Saulteaux, and the honored homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect and honor the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this land and reaffirm our relationship with one another. So today, the SPSA will provide an update on the upcoming spring and summer operational outlook. Feel free to record, cut clips, and quote today's call as necessary, but we would ask that you please do not live stream it. I would also like to note that we are recording the call and it will be available online later this week. We will first hear remarks from the Honorable Michael Uyghur, Minister responsible for the SPSA. We will then have a general update along with an overview of the current and spring conditions from SPSA Vice President Steve Roberts. After that, members of the media will have the opportunity to ask one question and one follow-up at that time. With that, I will turn the meeting over to Minister Uyghur.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for everyone participating today. It's my pleasure to join you today as we discuss preparations for the upcoming response season. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency is committed to helping protect communities before, during, and after an emergency. Every year, the agency's highly trained personnel respond to hundreds of wildfires, flooding events, and other types of emergencies. As we head into the upcoming wildfire season, the SPSA's focus is on preparedness, coordination, and keeping people and communities safe. The agency continues to concentrate on prevention, readiness, and rapid response, working closely with local communities, partners, and emergency services. We trust their expertise and leadership to guide decisions throughout this season. Wildfires are a shared challenge, and preparedness is a collective effort. With planning, dedicated crews, and public cooperation, we are well positioned to respond effectively this season. I also want to sincerely thank our wildland firefighters and support staff. Their professionalism, resilience, and commitment, often in extremely difficult situations, is truly commendable. With that, I'll now turn it back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Minister. And now I'll pass it over to Steve Roberts, Vice President of the SPSA.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So it's my pleasure to provide you some details on our operations and how we were preparing for the season, and I will follow it up with a situational awareness for our flood fire season upcoming in 2026. Every year, the agency is challenged by hundreds of wildfires and emergencies that occur across the province. Our experienced and highly trained teams work incredibly hard to help protect human life, communities, critical infrastructure, and resources. Last year was no different. In the spring, very dry and windy weather caused wildfires to spread quickly. 6 fires quickly grew from hundreds of acres to hundreds of thousands of acres. Because of this, more than 50 communities had to evacuate. And as you're aware, these fires caused serious damage across Saskatchewan. Over 50 municipal and volunteer fire departments provided support to the Public Safety Agency. We also received personnel equipment from almost every province and territory in Canada, along with numerous U.S. states and even Mexico and Australia. That is in addition to the agency's use of hundreds of Type 2 and Type 3 Northern Wildland firefighters who worked alongside our Type 1 firefighters last season. By season's end, Saskatchewan recorded over 500 wildfires that burned nearly 3 million hectares. This agency did not act alone. We are able to do what we do and help protect Saskatchewan because of a collective work done by others in the province. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each of those responders, agencies, communities, and partners who supported the efforts in 2025. Heading into the 2026 season, the agency is more prepared than ever. Since last fall, our focus has been on prevention, planning, and proactive response measures. Preventative work began in winter and continues today. We are focusing on reducing fuel in the province forest near high-risk communities through forest thinning, fire guard construction, and vegetation maintenance. The government of Saskatchewan has been completing fuel mitigation work around communities since 1990s, and 21 winter projects were completed over winter last year. The Public Safety Agency strengthens community readiness through programs like Fire Smart and by helping at-risk communities perform risk assessments and complete fire and emergency preparedness plans. Hiring response personnel is another important step, and we commenced hiring our seasonal staff 1 month earlier in December of 2025. The Type 1 wildland firefighters, pilots, and other response staff are in training as we speak to perform initial attack and sustained action on wildfires. We are also renewing contracts with First Nations and Northern communities for our Type 2 firefighters, renewing heavy equipment and specialty equipment such as helicopter contracts. And to suppress fires, crews require equipment like vehicles, hoses, and pumps. All of this equipment is maintained, repaired, and is ready to go for the spring season. This work is done both during the season, but continues throughout the off-season. As you're aware, adequate air support is critical to suppress wildfires and protect communities. As an organization that runs a large air fleet, there will be aircraft unavailable at any given time due to regulated inspections, maintenance, and repairs. 2 of our water scooping 215T aircraft will be unavailable until mid-season to address modification and repair requirements. These are the last 2 aircraft that are due to come online late in the season, so the impact to the group response will be low. Our first group is already maintained, staffed, and ready to respond. They're in ground training at this time right now. We were aware that the issue last fall and contracted a third-party provider to do some of this work to take the burden off our staff and ensure that all of the aircraft are ready in a timely manner. For those that are unaware, these modifications or repair may take many thousands of hours of labor. In many cases, further repairs are identified during those modifications and would require further engineering and design work afterwards. This could take up to 3 months due to supply chain issues. But however, the repairs are required to ensure the safety of our pilots, air and ground crews, and to ensure these aircraft remain operational and viable to respond as required. In the event of any delay, the agency will ensure that aircraft from other jurisdictions and our partner agencies will be available as required through our interprovincial agreements. While the Public Safety Agency can provide tools and resources during an emergency, individuals and families should take action now to prepare themselves to support themselves for up to 72 hours in the event of an emergency. It is critical for every person and every community to have an emergency plan in place. Sask Alert is Saskatchewan's critical information source for emergency information, provided in real time to allow individuals and families to take action to protect themselves and their property during an emergency. The Sask Alert app is free and can be downloaded on iPhone and Android devices, and the Sask Alert website also has a French language option for that service. So on that, I'll turn over to the fire conditions for 2026. As those who drove up, we are currently assessing snowpack, runoff, and other environmental conditions on an ongoing basis. That includes the recent event that has brought over 1 foot of snow to the Prince Albert area. This analysis is ongoing and it provides more data regarding precipitation so that we make accurate forecasting and hazard plans for the season. Current moisture data is showing that conditions vary between regions, with the north and central Saskatchewan seeing good snow recovery and over the winter and cooler temperatures. In contrast, the southwest experienced extremely dry and warm weather with worsening drought conditions and little to no snowpack. Overall, wildfire conditions have improved compared to last year in parts of the north and central region, the forested parts of the province. However, the south remains relatively the same as the onset of 2025. The Public Safety Agency is monitoring the snowmelt runoff and snowpack indicators from the Water Security Agency to determine whether they may encounter overland flooding or localized flooding due to ice jamming. At this time, neither are anticipated based on current conditions, but the agency is prepared to assist communities if needed. The thunderstorm season should begin in mid-May and continue through August across the province, but the severity of the 2026 wildfire season will be largely dependent on short-term weather trends such as extended periods of heat, wind, and rain events. Extended periods of heat followed by severe weather such as lightning and high winds or tornadoes can quickly exacerbate the hazards, cause rapid wildfire growth, and multiple wildfire starts. The agency will continuously monitor wildfire risk across the entire province through the season, identifying significant ignition risks. We will use that information to prepare and mobilize both personnel and equipment. It is important to remember that while many areas may be susceptible to wildfire, fires don't start without an ignition source. About half of all fires in this province are human caused and are entirely preventable. This is why we continue to stress the importance of following the fire bans when in place, being careful with outdoor burning, properly using and maintaining equipment, and using caution at all times when in our forest. Everyone has a role to play in reducing risk and helping keep communities safe as we move through the upcoming wildfire season. Thank you, and I'll turn the mic back to Jeff.
Thank you, Steve. We will now open up to questions from the media. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with questions in the room, and then we will move on to Teams. We have staff watching the Teams chat to help them moderate as well. For media in attendance, I'll recognize you. I would ask that when it's time for your question, please proceed to the microphone, identify yourself and the media outlet that you are working for. You will be allowed one question and one follow-up. If you are on Teams and you're asking a question, please make sure to turn on your microphone and your camera when asking your question, and then turn your camera off and your microphone off when you are finished. And again, I can't stress enough, please, let's identify yourselves before you ask your question, both your name and the media that you're working for, okay? So who would like to start with today? Anyone in the room? Sure. Excuse me, could you go to the microphone, please? Yeah, please. Or you don't have to sit down, you can stand up if you like. Yeah, you can sit.
So Arjun Pillai from the Daily Herald.
Thank you.
How many wildfire detection towers are currently operational in Saskatchewan?
So all of our wildfire, we have 42 of them. They're operated and they have cameras on all of them. And those are currently our detection staff just arrived this week to start their spring training and be prepared to start detecting wildfires from those towers using our camera detection system.
More question. British Columbia has publicly described a 5G connected wildfire camera network in which smoke data is analyzed using artificial intelligence. So does Saskatchewan has any plans to implement such a software-based camera?
So currently we are using a combination. We have actual detection staff that monitor the images. However, the actual software behind the program does identify anomalies in the images and triggers those and cues our staff to assess those. So as the cameras pick up things that could be smoke through an algorithm, they will trigger that on the screen so that the operators will actually verify them, confirm or deny that they're an actual fire start.
Are they AI assisted cameras?
No.
Hi, Aisha with CBC News. So the independent review conducted by MNP was expected to be completed by February, but we've been told that it will take until late spring. So why is there a delay there?
I can answer that, and thank you, Aisha, for the question. So in consultation with MNP, it was determined that some additional time would be required to ensure that the review was comprehensive, and it also included the involvement of some fire behavior specialists as well. So they're just, again, taking some extra time to ensure that when we do receive the report, it's a fully comprehensive report, and it's assessed all of the information that was required to give us a comprehensive report.
And who is adding on to that comprehensive report? Who are you speaking with, or who are you hoping to add to that report?
That would be MNP that determined that they had some other individuals to interview, and so it was MNP that is going through that process right now before getting us a final report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room would like to ask any questions? Okay, Brody, if you would like to take control and invite anyone that's on the Teams call that would like to ask a question.
Yeah, sure thing. We'll start with Edith. Please make sure you unmute your mic and tell us where you're from.
Hi, my name is Edith Boisvert. I'm from CBC French Radio Canada. I hope you're doing well today. I earlier today sent out an email and had requested many datas regarding the official numbers of last year's season. For example, how many carryover fires were there. And what I want to know is at this time, how many fires, active fires, is there, if any? I've been on the SPSA website. There's no data yet. Is that because, I don't know, someone has to upload it, or it's because every fire in the province are actually extinct?
So currently, we are not showing any active fires at this time. As the snow melt diminishes and exposes some of those areas from last year's fire, we may see areas of deep duff or peat areas that may need some to be addressed, but at this time, we're not detecting any of those.
So just to be clear, you are confident that all of last year's fires has been extinguished at this time?
At this time, we're not aware of any of those have carried over. We will not know that until the snowpack leaves and we find out if there's any deep burning into materials that may have to be excavated and dug up. But again, we will not be able to assess that until the snowpack has left the forest.
Thank you. And just to be sure, it's a technical question. Are we talking about zombie fires in that case?
Yeah, we call them carryover fires in Saskatchewan, and it would be just a lingering, and it's usually fuel accumulation. A couple years ago, we had one in Hudson Bay on one of our bigger fires. It was a peat bog that had kind of continued to burn over the winter, but you don't actually see that until the snow leaves and we start to see, some light smoke, or we see and we reassess those fires in the spring.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Edith. Next, we have Jeremy.
Hello, Jeremy Symes with the Canadian Press. I'm just wondering how you're expecting this fire season, to be compared to last year's season. Are you expecting it to be worse? Are you expecting it to be better?
So our current long-term projections from our meteorological department is that we will have a later spring than we did last year. We currently have a very decent snowpack in the northern forested part of the province. So we expect a typical spring season. Come July is when we typically will start to see those longer heat trends. So that's really when the weather will drive fire behavior. How long are dry spells? How hot are these dry spells? How much precipitation? How frequently it occurs? So up till June, our fire season is primarily based on snowpack, and that's looking actually favorable, more favorable than last year. After that period, it will have a lot to do with ignition sources, including lightning, and the current weather conditions for there to the end of August.
Okay, and just to follow up for you, Steve, you did say the SPSA is more prepared than ever. Do you think the SPSA is more prepared this year than it was last year?
So in a number of areas, we have our crews back for training already. But for instance, we have contracted an extra long-term helicopter to support our initial attack efforts this year that was not in place. So typically we have 7. We have brought in an 8th helicopter this year. We have pre-registered heavy equipment and worked with our partners to register their equipment as well. We have formalized a standing agreement so that we can call volunteer fire departments easier if needed than we did last year. We're also doing improvements to other parts of our business, like the evacuation process, doing some upgrades to the evacuation app. So all of our processes have been looked at, and there are areas of efficiencies and improvements that we're going to be making, and have already made some of those as well.
Okay, next we have Susan with PA Now.
Sorry, it's been a while since I was on one of these. I forgot where the mute button was. I have a couple questions. One is, is there any kind of update on outstanding arson charges from last year? I know a couple people were charged. So is there any investigation ongoing into those things?
So those investigations have been turned over to the RCMP, and they would be the ones who could provide information or updates if required.
Okay. And then second question, can you give kind of just a quick overview of how Danair Beach is doing and the status of things there?
Okay, I do have some information. There has been a significant amount of effort taken place in Danair Beach. So in the main village, we have completed all the burn areas and cleaned those up. Trees that were danger trees left over from the fire have been fallen, skidded, and removed from the area so they don't pose any future hazard. We also looked at a fire guard under review on the side of the community, and South End Fire Guard also on the outside boundary are being looked at for contract work. We have 6,500 seedlings will arrive this week as part of a reforestation shelter belt program. Volunteers are working with community members from a number of non-governmental services, helping people respond and rebuild in the community. And all of this is in addition to the mitigation efforts we had to bring in temporary housing for people as they rebuild and wait for their homes to arrive this spring. And some of those are in place and ready to go in once the manufacturers are done with those homes. And we will continue to monitor that, provide those supports as needed to get the community up and operational here over the next coming months.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Susan. Edith, back to you.
Thank you. My question were more about stats. I wanted to know, you mentioned a round number of fires. Do we know exactly how many fires started in 2025?
Yeah, all the details on our stats are actually on our website. You can query those questions because we have a running total, and our annual report will ultimately be out with all those numbers. But those numbers were finalized at the end. Approximately 500. I think it's 524 is the number in my head, but it is available. That number has not increased since late fall in October.
Do we know in total how many were declared out of control? Is that also included in those data that you mentioned?
Currently, none of them are. That's a temporary status. So a fire may be listed as not yet under control, and that will change over time as it becomes contained and ultimately extinguished and mopped up. So that is not a permanent designation. It's just a temporary description of the fire. So when you see them on the website saying that they're not yet contained, that is a temporary situation, and it could last for a couple hours, could last for a couple days until our efforts have brought those back under control.
It was not clear enough. How many fires were at some point declared out of control during the last season? Do we have those stats?
Every fire will start as not yet controlled. So until we take effort, so even if we find a fire and we send a helicopter crew to the fire, it will be listed as not yet under control until our crews have hit the ground. So every fire will at one point be listed as not under control.
Then do we know how many fires did threaten infrastructure at some point during the 2025 fire season?
Hi, Edith, we can follow up with this stuff after the call. We're just running short on time here.
No worries. I already sent you the email, so all my questions are in there. Thank you.
We're working on it, yeah. Back to Jeremy.
Again, just about your air tanker fleet, how many do you have available and how many total does the SPSA have this year?
So our air fleet this year will consist of 3 Convair CV580s and 1 Q400 air tanker. So the air tanker, the Q400 that arrived in August and went in last year and went into service in August, completed some missions, is fully serviceable, won't be full-time operational. As a result, one of the CV580s that were in operation has been pulled from service. So we remain with 4 retardant tankers. We also have 6 water scooping aircraft, all of those CL-215Ts, and they will be brought on in a gradual manner over the next 3 to 4 months to support the fire operations. And lastly, we have 7 bird dog aircraft. Those are the command and control aircraft that monitor airspace safety and work with the ground crews to ensure that the aircraft support aligns with the ground efforts.
Just hoping for some clarity there, because I understand I think 4 of the 10 water bombers were unavailable last year. Can you just provide an update on that and how many are actually available and how many are unavailable?
So they've all been maintained except 2, and those 2, as I discussed earlier, are currently underway. But they are not operational. They come on operational in waves. Again, we don't bring them all on at the start of the season. We bring them on over time, and that allows us to ensure we have fleet available at both the start and the end of the season. So they are ready to go to work, but they are not operational at this time. They're not flying in aircraft groups at this time, except for our very first group of retardant aircraft.
Okay, and the number of that?
2.
Just the total? So are the 2
2 of our retardant aircraft and 1 bird dog are currently coming online. They're in operational training as we speak today.
and the others aren't?
The others aren't, no.
And that number?
Sorry, there'll be 2 others. So there's a total of 4 retardant aircraft. 2 are in operation, 2 are not right now. And there's 6 water bombers that are not in operation right now because they're not on their schedule. And there are 6 bird dog aircraft that are not operational, 1 that is at this current time.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, last question will go to Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa Tiberio from Global News here. In terms of those aircraft, I'm just hoping you could clarify. I know that the SPSA committed to purchasing 4 back in 2024 of the repurposed land-based air tanker aircrafts. So which of those are included in your count there?
So just the one that arrived. We had one that arrived last season. It is in the count. It has replaced one of the aging CV580 aircraft. So last year we started with 4 of those. Now we have 3 of those and 1 of the new air tankers. The second air tanker, the new air tanker in that group, will arrive likely in August of this year to be added to the fleet.
And will it be operational as of August as well?
The intent that it will be is we have done advanced pilot training. So the only barrier to that is how busy we are. We will not take aircraft out of service to do any training on a new aircraft. We would rather be responding. So if things are reasonable and controlled, we will likely embed and bring that aircraft online in August, much like we did with the first one we got last year.
And then, sorry, just to follow up, when will the other 2 be available?
The other 2, the next one will come in the fall of 2027, and the last one in the early spring, late winter, early spring of 2028. So 1 more this fiscal, 2 next fiscal.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for questions online. Jeff, back to you.
Good. So we've got 1 more question from the floor, and then we'll call it a day.
Lisa Rism, CBC. Just wondering, what was the financial cost to the province of last year's wildfire season? And follow-up question, do you think this year's budget increase of 20 million is going to suffice with rising costs of fuel and et cetera for this season?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. As of right now, I don't have a final total to share with you, and that's one of those questions where we'd be pulling from a lot of different agencies as far as that final total. So I haven't seen the final total on that yet, and really just in the past few months, even finishing up with some of the expenses from last year's wildfire season, but I'm sure we'll have that shortly. To your second question, as far as the budgeted amount, again, what we've budgeted is an amount that is estimated to cover an average wildfire season. Of course, with that being said, as we did last year, if we have a severe wildfire season, we can always go through supplemental funding to make sure that our province fully responds to whatever the wildfire season brings.
I'd just like to thank everyone for attending today, and just